What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the August 30th, 2021 edition of Raw Talk. Back in the studio this week, this time with Scott Stanford and Matt Kemp. Now, they had Scott Stanford on the show, I think, 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. Last week was Kayla, so they've switched on and off. Either way, Matt Kemp has always been there. I enjoy Scott Stanford. Caleb Braxton brings a bit more personality for my taste, but Scott Stanford and Matt Kemp were a solid duo nonetheless. To start the show, they run down the biggest headlines from Raw, without actually mentioning that the 3 advertised matches for this week's Raw went on without actually happening. The matches did not go on as advertised, and we got a completely different card for Monday's Raw. Unsurprisingly, it was reported this morning from PW Insider, Dave Meltzer, that the lineup for the show was completely blown up right beforehand. The script was ripped up by Vince right before the show. Again, unsurprisingly. So we got a completely different show, which overall I wasn't really that big of a fan of. We got a couple of very good matches, though, so I will say that. But they run down the biggest headlines from the show, including Nia Jax beating Charlotte Flair, the Raw Women's Champion, in non-title singles action, likely earning Nia Jax a shot at the Raw Women's Championship, I would have to assume, at next month's Extreme Rules pay-per-view. We hear from Nia Jax backstage at Raw being interviewed by Kevin Patrick, and Nia Jax said that she splattered Charlotte as she promised that she would earlier on in the evening, and she feels this has earned her a title opportunity, like I just said. She predicts that she is a future Raw Women's Champion, and she also kind of downplays the tension with Shayna Baszler. Because Kevin was like, oh, if you're going for the Raw Women's Championship, that means that your partnership with Shayna is over, which I wish that was the case, but even if she is going for the Raw Women's Championship, I'm not really sure what that has to do with her and Shayna, because they can still be friends, and Nia can still be in the title picture. It's not like RK Bro's going to break up, because Orton is very likely going after the WWE title at Extreme Rules. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyway, she just says, she downplays it by saying, I'm going for the gold, and that's it. So we'll see what happens next with Shayna and Nia Jax. Although, like I said, I wish they would just break up and get it over with, because I really want Shayna to break off on her own, and I would rather see Charlotte versus Shayna as a feud as opposed to Nia and Shayna, or rather Nia and Charlotte, but that's just me. And even Matt Kemp agrees that Nia should be next in line following her win over Charlotte on Raw. They recap the ending to the show. That saw Randy Orton and Matt Riddle retain the Raw Tag Team titles against Bobby Lashley and MVP, and what I thought was a very good main event. Stanford feels like Riddle just goes into another gear for Randy Orton just in an attempt to impress him. And Riddle's always in that other gear. It's not really a Randy Orton thing. He's always been in that next gear whenever he's wrestling, whether it be in NXT or in the Monday Night Raw or SmackDown rosters. He kind of has that Kurt Angle vibe about him during his matches, where he just kicks it up a notch and always goes that, extra mile and puts on great matches every time. So they also tease Viking Raiders getting back into the Raw Tag Team title picture following their win over Jinder Mahal, who got pinned, by the way, and Veer on Monday's Raw. We hear from the Viking Raiders, and it was a weird thing because Ivar did not have like the normal Viking Raider voice, blah, 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 which is good. I would rather they didn't. They don't always have to speak like fucking morons. Ivar didn't have the Viking Raider accent, but Eric did. So I thought that was weird. And I know what they actually sound like because we've heard them on NXT before, WWE videos before, on their YouTube channel without the accent. So I know what they sound like normally. And Ivar sounded normal here. Eric did not. That was weird. But they say that the raid is on following their win on Raw this week. And they want to get paid. They want to raid and get paid as the Raw Tag Team Champions, and what better way to get paid than as the Raw Tag Team Champions. They want to show what RK Bro, what the raid is all about, and they want to bring the fight every Monday night on Raw. So pretty generic shit from the Viking Raiders. I like the team. Nothing really to write home about here. They replay the Doudrop versus Eva Marie quote-unquote match, which wasn't actually a match. It was just Doudrop attacking Eva. Eva said that she wasn't clear to compete or she couldn't go or whatever, and that was it. So another match that did not go on as advertised. Stanford and Camp recap the United States Championship Triple Threat title match, which was great. Fantastic match, and they call it the biggest win of Priest's already young career, which is true. Even going back to NXT. He's had a lot of big wins in his WWE career, including in NXT and on the Monday Night Raw roster. At the Rumble, he had a great showing, SummerSlam Mania. But pinning Drew McIntyre in that excellent triple threat on Monday's Raw was absolutely the biggest win of his career so far. And hopefully that title, as a lot of other people have said, is merely a stepping stone for him to that next level in WWE. Because to me, and to a lot of other people, he screams main event player. We hear from Sheamus to close out the show here, who calls himself the MVP of the Performance Center era, the Thunderdome era, the current fan era of WWE. A lot of eras in WWE, but he's been the MVP the entire time, dating back to early 2020. And he felt like, despite the performance he gave on Monday, he got screwed again. And he wasn't even pinned. He wasn't pinned to lose the match. It was Drew, surprisingly. I thought it would be Sheamus, but I guess not. He says that the world is against him and all this other stuff, and he says that he is coming for Damian Priest's United States Championship. So what I would have done, another Damian Sheamus match sounds great. I would have had Sheamus get pinned because it looked like they were setting up Sheamus, or rather Drew and Damian, for the next pay-per-view. And I would have just not had Drew. I mean, Priest pinning Drew was huge, obviously, and it was a great moment. But I would have saved that one-on-one match, and you could still do the one-on-one match for the pay-per-view coming up and not have Drew get pinned. Because now he kind of has a point. Like, he wasn't pinned here. He should get another shot at the championship, maybe next week on Raw, who knows. But either way, that was a great match, and that was a good way to close out this episode of Raw Talk for August 30th, 2021. Thank you guys for checking out the show. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting that bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Well, we are, very, very close to 25,000 subscribers. So to everyone who has joined so far, subscribed, I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great week. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.